Okay, so before we get into this video, I want to make sure that we can find agreement in 3 areas, because if we cannot find agreement in these 3 areas, this particular video won't be worth your time. But if we can, it definitely will be. So first of all, freight brokers are salespeople. That's what we do all day, every day, and twice on Sunday is we are salespeople. We're selling something to our customers, to our shippers every day. That's how we get paid. Number 2, freight brokers focus on sales. Of course, if that is your profession, that is how you get paid, that is how your business flourishes, then we have to have some intent focus on sales. The third thing that we need to find agreement on is sales provide the fuel for your business. That is the octane. That is what's going to move you off of the ground into your cruising altitude. So if you would agree in these 3 areas, keep watching. Why do I say that? Because what I'm going to explore in this video is the $1 million question. Now that we have agreement here, what is that $1 million question? Well, it's the one that's always on your mind that you're thinking about. Okay, I'm a salesperson. I know that sales fuel my business. I know that I have to have an intent focus on sales. Okay, but what am I selling? What am I selling to the shipper? What am I selling my customer? We're going to deal with that today in this video. So come on inside, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Now let's get into the business. Okay, so now I want to deal with this wonderful word called selling. Since our topic today is what are you selling? What is it that you are actually selling to your customer? Let's go into that word to understand it, to get a real good understanding of what it means to sell something. Now, when you think about selling yourself or selling your service, what comes to mind? What do you think about when you think of the word selling? And I don't mean some definition that you go and get out of Google. I just mean the first thing that comes to your mind when you say, I'm getting ready to sell something. Okay, let me tell you what I think about when I think about this beautiful word called selling. Selling is nothing more than me convincing someone to do something that they're already doing. I'm just trying to convince them to do it with me. You see, shippers are already moving freight. They're already using trucks and freight brokers. I am just trying to get this shipper to use my services now. I have a service that is of value. And now what I am trying to do is to convince the shipper that the service that I have could be of value to him. That's simple. When we're thinking about this beautiful word, I keep saying beautiful word because selling is such a beautiful word. It's such a beautiful practice to be able to have something of value and then to know how to articulate what value you have to that customer so that they can understand it and become a customer. That's a beautiful process, but we have to learn how to do it. First of all, what I want you to know today is, what are you selling? Because oftentimes as freight brokers, we're selling freight brokerage services, but we don't know what's in that service. We don't know what exactly it is that we're offering. We just think that we're selling trucks. We're offering trucks to the shipper. Well, truck drivers do that. So we can't just offer trucks. We have to offer a service that comes with the movement of loads from point A to point B. So we're offering a service to our shippers, and what we're getting ready to identify now is, what is that service? How does my shipper benefit from the service that I provide? When I can show the benefits of my service, how it works, then I have a much better chance of acquiring customers, because now they can see the benefits of the service. I can paint the picture so that they understand it. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about selling. That's it. Okay, so now I said that selling is beautiful. So if it's so beautiful, why does it cause so many problems for people? Why do we feel like we're so nervous when it's time to approach that sales piece? We get so uptight, we hesitate, and we second guess ourselves. Why do we do that if it's such a beautiful process? Well, that's a very simple one. It's mostly due to we don't know what we're selling. We don't know what we're selling. We haven't identified what is in our service. And when you don't know what's in your service, guess what? You can't talk about it. You can't articulate it. And when you can't articulate something, guess what? You get nervous. You don't want to talk about openly things that you're not comfortable with. So what you have to do is identify exactly what is in your service. And because you haven't done that, because you don't know what's in the service, you don't want to call anybody and talk about it. You don't want to talk to shippers about your service because you don't know what it is. So that is the key. That's what we have to do, is we got to get an understanding of what is in the service. Now, when you think about freight brokerage services, what do you think about? Yes, okay, we're going to offer trucks. Most definitely. That's a part of what we do. We're going to offer shippers trucks. What else are you going to do for the shipper as a freight broker? That's how you have to approach this. Think about it. What problems do shippers have, and how can I solve those problems? Let's look at it from this point. We're identifying the service now. So we do provide trucks. Next thing that we want to look at and say, okay, what else would I do for the shipper? Okay, sometimes shippers need last minute trucks. We know that's a major problem that shippers have. Truckers, freight brokers cancel on loads, and then I'm going to be able to provide last minute service to the shipper, because now the shipper is in a jam. They have a load, it's been canceled, it cannot move until they get a truck under it, and they don't have any options right now because it just canceled. So I want to be that person that they call or they shoot an email to say, hey, we just had a load to cancel. Can you get this covered? For two reasons. Number one, it solves a shipper's problem. They have a last minute issue and I can solve it. And number two, shippers are not as conscious as about pricing when it comes to last minute loads. They're more concerned about getting a load moved. So I have some leeway there with the rate. So I want to be able to provide a service that offers last minute trucks. The next thing that I can say, what else happens when it comes down to shippers and freight brokers and the whole trucking world? How does that work? Well, there's something called EFS or ComData. These are electronic funding sources. And these funding sources allow for you to be able to pay things like lumper fees or fuel advances. And when you have a ComData or an EFS account, why that's important is because now that you have an electronic payment option, you can offer a fuel advance to your carrier, or you can even offer to pay your shippers lumper fees on all of the loads. Let me give you an example. So we offer the service of paying our shippers lumper fees. They don't have to worry about any lumper fees that come with the loads that we move. But what we do is, of course, we get our money back because we're going to invoice them with that fee included when we send that invoice. So we're not just paying it and not getting the money back. But the shippers like that as part of their service because now they don't have to get in the weeds and pay a lumper fee on every single load that they're moving. We have that part taken care of. They can see value in that. And that's what we're trying to show when we're talking about a service that the freight broker provides, is the value in that service. How does it provide value to your customer? That's one way of doing it. So we want an electronic payment solution in place like EFS or ComData. Another thing that you can offer in your service that's extremely valuable is spreadsheets. Now you say spreadsheet, what do you mean there? Well, every Monday I'm sending out my customer a spreadsheet to show all of the loads that we're moving. It's going to show the pickup times, the delivery times on those spreadsheets. And it's also going to show what the rate is in those lanes, because we're not trying to hide that. We want them to be very well aware of what they're doing with us. We're going to have everything outlined. So if they wanted to take that spreadsheet into a meeting, they'll have exactly what the lanes are and what they're moving at. what you're doing there is you're helping them to see what their freight spend is, how much money that they're spending on these lanes that they're moving with you. Why that's so important? Because shippers are always trying to decrease their freight spend. Why? Because freight spend, of course, affects overall profit margins. You don't go out and just give ridiculously low prices just to satisfy that, but we put those numbers in front of them so that they can see it and make decisions based on that. Because remember, we're not hiding anything. So when we're talking about a service, you have to look and see, hey, what is it that your service encompasses? What is it that you're providing for your shipper when you're talking your service? How does your service solve your shipper's problem? So yes, we provide trucks. We provide last minute service to our shippers. We have an EFS account set up so that we can provide electronic funding sources to our shippers, such as paying for those lumper fees, paying for fuel advances. We provide spreadsheets to our shipper to help them know exactly what it is that we're moving with them, what time those loads are picking up, what time they're delivering. If those loads are late, we're going to have it out there and let them know that these loads were late. That way they know what is our on-time pickup rate, what is our on-time delivery rate. We want to make them aware of what it is that we're doing for them as a service provider. We don't want to hide that. We want that to be out in the open so it's clearly visible. Why is that? Because when people see that you're doing a great job, then when you ask for more responsibility, then you obviously would be very likely to get more of that responsibility because you're doing such a great job with what it is that you have. So we're going to provide those spreadsheets so they can see it, and then it's going to help them to know exactly what they're spending in different lanes. And then what about the challenging lanes that we're always speaking to? You hear people say, hey, I want to help you out with the lanes that you have the most challenges in. And that's okay, but what specifically are you talking about when you say challenging lanes? I like to go ahead and speak specifically to the challenge. That way, maybe I can say something that resonates with the shipper instead of something as broad as challenging lanes. So yes, we want to talk about those challenging lanes, but what challenging lanes specifically? We're going to start off with LTL, offering an LTL service. Because once you get an LTL load, then you will know that it is some problems that come with trying to move LTL loads, especially when you don't have a network established just yet, because you're not going to be able to find carriers to service those type of loads. So sometimes when a shipper has 2 or 3 pallets that they're trying to move, when you can come in and provide a service like that, solve that type of problem for the shipper, then you add a lot of value to what it is that they're trying to do. So that is something you definitely want to offer. You want to offer LTL services because it's going to allow for you to get in favor with the shipper because you are solving one of their greatest problems when it comes down to freight movement. Of course, shippers don't always want to ship in a full truckload. You're going to have smaller customers sometimes that want less of what they're getting. So we ship in LTL instead of a FTL, which is full truckload compared to less than truckload. And a problem that can definitely keep shippers up at night wondering how he's going to get his drayage mission covered. Now, when you're offering drayage services, that just means that you're going out and you're trying to find carriers that will service a specific type mission. What a drayage mission is basically moves that go in short distances. Like when we had a drayage contract, we moved loads all day, every day between a 8-mile radius from the cold storage over to the dry warehouses. But you had to have a driver that was committed to that every day. And it had to be 1 truck and 3 different trailers. So you have to go in and find a needle in the haystack. But offering that type of service is definitely going to make the shipper look at you like, man, this guy is really willing to go after it, willing to do everything within his power to help us with this, because it took us a long time to find a driver that would do that. But we stayed with it. And when a shipper sees that you're willing to do that, then of course when other things come up, other lanes, they're going to give you a chance to bid on those lanes, and possibly you'll get a chance to move those lanes as well. So this is about offering a drayage service. Now, of course, in order to know whether a person needs that, you got to engage and have that conversation and talk to them about drayage missions. Do you have those type of missions? And again, we're talking short distances between two facilities. So in my opinion, drayage services are definitely one of those services that I want to offer. So we're just giving you some things here to put on your mind. Drayage services. Let's get to the business. All right, so another type of service that we would offer to our shippers is the ability to be able to move what we call multi-pick or multi-drop loads. When we say multiple drops, what we're saying is it has one pick and then multiple drops come after that. So if there are multiple drops that come after that, what we're moving within that freight is partials. Those are partials that are being dropped. So we are offering the service of, hey, we can do multi-drops, multiple picks, and then we can move some partials in there. So when you run out of things to talk about, you can look back at all of these things that we've mentioned so far. Trucks, last minute service, EFS as part of your service, ComData if you use them. That's the same one when we say, electronic payment service. The spreadsheet, when you're offering a spreadsheet to make sure you're breaking down the cost of what it costs for a shipper to move his freight so that he can see his freight spend. Then we talked about an LTL service that you can offer, drayage services, multi-pick, multi-drop, partial services. So when you understand what it is that you're offering, then you have something to talk about. But if you don't really have a good understanding of the service that you're providing to your shipper, it is going to be very difficult to have a conversation about that. So we have identified some things here that you can start to incorporate as part of your service. Now, which ones you choose, that's up to you. And maybe you don't need to try and offer all of them, but maybe you can pick some of them and decide which ones you want to offer and then zone in and be able to talk on those talking points. That'll relieve some of the pressure, relieve some of the stress, because you know exactly what it is that you offer and you're able to talk around those things that you offer. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'm going to leave a link in the description where you can check out my free 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. What it's going to do is allow for you to come into my office with me. Watch over my shoulders. I move loads, talk to shippers, talk to carriers, so you can get a really good idea of how this business works before you actually come into it. And if you want the details of how I go about finding the customers that we're going to work with, check out this free video as well. So until the next time, see you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.